Hello, everyone, and welcome to this fun conversation with hot seaters. I'm so excited once again. My name is Genevieve Young, and I decided to create those interviews or conversations with hot seaters because I've been in the hot seat many times. And people would ask me, like, what happened after this event? And what did you do? Did you apply what Abraham told you to do? And I thought that it would be a good idea to have those conversations to see beyond, the hot seat, what happened after. What about the hot seaters experience or perspective now? Can they share something that could help us to understand more clearly the teachings of Abraham? So today I'm very excited to have Kosta Trifunovic with me. He's been in the hot seat 7 times. How exciting is this? So please meet Kosta. Hello,
Hi,
Kosta.
everybody. Hello, hello. Hi, Genevieve.
Hello. Thank you for being there. Thank you for accepting this invitation of talking about your experience in the hot seat. So, first of all, you've been in the hot seat 7 times. I really enjoyed because you documented every hot seat in a blog. And I so much enjoyed reading that blog. I'll put it right there on the screen so people can take a look at it because I feel that from your hot seat number one until like the hot seat number seven, we can really feel the momentum and like experience with you the next steps of what is coming for you. And that was so exciting for me to read and also listen to the hot seat. So tell me more about your first meeting with Abraham. Like, how did this happen? How did you discover Abraham Hicks?
Okay, so my husband Armand, when we met, he's been very much into reading about New Age and self-help, self-discovery, spirituality. And I remember seeing him every week with a new book. He got to, I think he was watching Super Soul Sunday with
Yeah.
Oprah.
Yeah, my favorite show when I
Oh, there
went
you
to
go.
Oprah
Okay.
Studios. Yeah, I was invited in the studios and I got to see the stage of Super Soul Sunday. I
Oh
was so
my gosh.
excited about that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, well, this was the thing. I mean, I was very focused at the time on my professional ballroom dance career, and growing up, I was, always, trying to uplift people and positive person, just in naturally. But then when I would see him, that he would look for all of these things, and every week he would bring a new book. She would recommend the book, he would buy it, then would read it. Next week she
Yeah.
recommends a book, he buys it, reads it, and this was like dozens of book every single week. At one point, I said, you know what, it might be, you might want to just take a little break, because it seemed that there was like so much information coming
Yeah.
through, and it's not that he did not enjoy it, but it seems that he was on this quest really to
Mhm.
find something that will stick. So I said, you might just want to take a little break, and something will come up. And so it was. He came one day with this huge book of 700 pages, and he said, oh my gosh, I started reading this is so amazing, you should start reading it. And I said, well, you know that I don't really read, so and I'm definitely not tackling 700-page book. Like, there's
Yeah.
no way I'm going for it. So I got to see him. Now all of a sudden he stopped buying books, so I was like, okay, this one is like sticking around the first month and the second month. And he was very gentle about it. He was very soft, and he was like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm reading it now for the second time. I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not interested. Because out of all of these books before, there was only one that I read before that. And I was really excited that I wanted to share it with about 20, 30 people. So he was just patiently waiting for me to be ready. And
Yeah.
at some point, I was overwhelmed. There was like so many things coming, in my dancing career, and I was upset why my green card is not coming just yet, because there was a big desire that I had. And he said, we were at dinner one night, and he just, slid the book in front of me, and I started, passing the pages, and then I was like, okay, what is this whole mambo jumbo woo about channeling and the spirits and but I said to myself, he would not be reading this for 6 months, for the second time already, if this was not something that's valuable. So I just totally skipped the introduction part and I went directly into chapter number 1. And when I started reading chapter number 1, I started having all of these instant downloads of, every chapter would talk about something. I would have almost like a list of all of the examples from my own life show up exactly on that topic. Chapter after chapter, that was like, oh, this is why this happened. This is why this happened. This is why that happened. This is why, positive or negative, it did not matter. And I said, it was a nice way that he tricked me also, because he found that this 700-page book was turned into 3 books. Actually, it was 3 books: Essential Law of Attraction, Vortex, and Money and Law of Attraction. So he found this 200-page book to kind of bribe me so I could actually finally, read it, or to make it more accessible to me, right? So I was reading it, and I said, oh, halfway through the book, I didn't even finish it. I had this awareness. I said, wow, so if this is how it all works, all it is now to be deliberate. So let me practice a little bit my deliberateness.
Yeah.
So I started practicing it, and I won my first dance competition, and my green card arrived within 3 weeks. And then I started tackling some of the bigger topics, more important topics in my life. And that was year 2015. So for those first couple of years, we did not know anyone from the Abraham community. We did not go to any of the workshops. We did not even know much. We didn't even pay attention to YouTube. We just thought this is a book, right? Because this is this awesome author with a book. And then we discovered that there is the workshop, and we visited one together. Armand went to few on his own as well. And I remember, being so new to everything. We came to the workshop, and we there 5 minutes before, and we were in the last row of the workshop.
making sure you were not going to be picked.
No, we did not know how it works. No, we had no clue. So we just walked back, and then I was raising my hand, and 3 or 4 times they would say, come here, stand up if you think it's you. And I would stand up every single time, but I would not go. And so anyway, that was a lovely workshop. It was actually for my birthday in 2017 it was. And then later that year, Armand's been talking throughout the whole year. I want to go to the cruise. They have the cruise. They have the cruise. They have the cruise. And I said, I don't know. I don't really think I want to go to Caribbean. I've been there. Alaska, wow, that's just like, who wants to go to Alaska? But then there was this awesome situation where, I got this. I was in Las Vegas, and I got an impulse to go and look to see when is the next workshop, because I felt I wanted to go to another workshop. But then I saw this cruise popped up, and it was a Mediterranean cruise with all Greek islands. And I always wanted to go to Greek islands. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've just bought an apartment and furnished it. And we are we're really filled out our credit cards and everything. But I said, I have to figure out how to do this. And so I just went on and swiped the rest of the credit that I had to put the down payment, not knowing how we're going to pay for it, because I just, had no clue. And then the day after, he called me and he said, our property in Miami that we're renting, a client sent $700 that they owed. And then I went on coming back, I went on and I played the slot machine for the first time that year, even though I visited Vegas 20 times, and I won exactly $1,000 more.
Wow.
For the down payment. And then when I went home and I told him all of this, he's like, well, let's go into our finance that you were planning for next year. And the remaining of the balance was exact amount we had planned to be remainder for our trips that year. So it was just this amazing, brilliant experience. So anyway, I can blab about all of these things so much.
But it's interesting. I like knowing about those stories. Yeah. It's always
So that's how we got to experience cruise, and from that it's been all cruises for us. Since then we missed only one cruise until 2020, and it was because we were getting married, so it was a good reason to skip the
Yeah,
cruise.
for
But we've
sure.
done four cruises within a year and a half. So
Um,
and that's how and that first hot seat that I had on the first cruise was also, I then understood how is it going, that there's certain area for where most people come from. So I was like all the way back, and again I had this whole thing where I would stand up and I thought it was me. It's almost like, okay, come a little closer, come a little closer.
yeah,
And then I remember this clarity that I received from a hot seater before one of the breaks. And it was a big change for me, not only for my hot seat experiences, but in understanding between the step 1 and 3. When we're raising hands to go in a hot seat, right?
yeah.
Abraham always says it's, when you're asking, you're creating, but you're not receiving at the same time. So you need to put
Mm-hmm.
yourself in an allowing place. And
Mm.
I realized every time I would raise the hand, I would ask to be in a hot seat, because we're trained when you raise the hand, you're asking for something. So your
Yeah,
vibration, your vibe of asking when you're raising the hand is kind of almost given. So I said, oh no, I just have to raise the hand as a separate movement, but I want to be in a state of allowing. And so I went on a break and I quieted my mind for a
mm.
moment, and I raised the hand, and I was the first one in a hot seat after that break, which was like, oh my gosh, this is how it works.
Yeah, yeah. That's
And
the allowing state. Good.
exactly, yeah.
So, what I would like to do, Costa, is I picked a 4-minute segment
Mhm.
of your sixth hot seat. So,
Mhm.
I wanted to talk with you about worthiness because this week that's the theme that I
Mhm.
choose. And I just love the segment that you're talking about worthiness with Abraham. I think there's something very interesting that I want to touch on with you right after we listen to the segment. And
Okay,
of
sounds good.
course, I want to mention that the copyrights belong to Abraham Hicks, Esther, and Jerry. But we will be listening to this amazing hot seat that I just love. And I want to mention that right before that segment, you are explaining to Abraham how good you are as a dance teacher, that you're mastering your art. You know that when you'll be teaching someone how to dance, they will know better, even maybe even better than you know, and they will be dancing like the best dance ever. So this is what you're talking about. And then Abraham talks about worthiness. So I just wanted to bring people, make sure people understand what's happening in the hot seat. So let's take a look at it and then we'll talk about it. All right. Thank
Okay, sounds
you.
good.
Okay.
And so, naturally, with this amazing manifestation after manifestation, and this just
Feels like power, but let's call it pleasure.
yes, it feels it. I just circle it always back to this knowing, to this confidence, to this worthiness, consistent, innate worthiness, and I see it in everyone.
Let's define worthiness, because worthiness is one of those trick words that is sometimes not understood and not received by everyone. So let's define worthiness. Worthiness is you seeing yourself through the eyes of Source. Worthiness is you knowing yourself as Source knows you. Worthiness is no resistance on your part when you feel worthy. It's you offering no resistance to the knowing that Source has about your value and your benefit to the world and your readiness for happily ever after. Yeah. So start again. Say that again. What were you saying about your worthiness? We sort of cut you off. We want to hear that fully.
So what I'm saying is this feeling of confidence and satisfaction, and
in knowing what you've got going on, but also, and maybe this is the next sentence that you're about to utter if we would let you say something.
go ahead.
All of that is in place with you, mostly. But there's another factor that really is at the heart of what we're talking about here, and that's your expectation of them. Because when you are completely who you are, you have no resistance in your vibration, because you are the extension of non-resistant source energy who knows their worthiness. It's not just you knowing yours, it's you expecting them to know theirs. That's so big, because remember, it's attraction, attraction, attraction. You can't assert your knowledge of their value or of their knowing. You can only know it. You can only know their value, and know it so much that even if they don't know it, it doesn't matter, because you know it so much. It's the same story as when you stood before Jesus dripping your illness, and he saw not your illness. He only knew your wellness. It's the same story. And because he knew it so completely, there was no place for your illness in that moment in time. There was no room in the vibration for it, because there was dominance of the energy of wellness that was surrounding the whole experience. And he said, go forth and tell no one. Don't tell anyone how well you danced today. They won't believe it. No, you don't have to say that. We want to take this experience of the manifestation of this beautiful, effective, good-feeling dance that you are talking about here, and we want to describe it as the evidence of all of this alignment that we are talking about all day, every day. Alignment feels so good, just to feel it. Energy alignment, or absence of resistance, is a delicious state of being. But when you're riding the wave of that, and then you have that compounding evidential experience that is proof of your alignment, that's what living in the physical, where you can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it, is all about. And so we like the way you have unfolded this scenario to us, because you have helped us confirm with you that it is first an energetic connection that you accomplish, and then the manifestation just keeps showing up as evidence of it. But so many people want the evidence in order to support the worthiness. They don't find the worthiness first. They don't meditate into alignment first. They demand or struggle or really, really want or try to conjure through practice and hard work the evidence of it, and then they will use the evidence of it to prove the worthiness. It doesn't work that way at all. Knowing first, evidence next. Thought first, manifestation next. So there's pre-manifestational awareness, that's that delicious emotion, and then there's post-manifestational awareness, that's the beautiful dance.
The beautiful dance. I love that.
Yes.
Okay, so there's something that I really want to start with, and you talked about it just before we were looking at that segment, which is, I understood that I had to be in the allowing state or place, before being picked up. So I was raising my hand, I was asking a question, I was not allowing it, so allowing myself, to receive and go there. So, and I find this is exactly what Abraham is telling you in that segment also. Abraham is saying, like, it's knowing first, and then, so you need to know first, you need to feel first the worthiness, and then it comes. And I'd like to have your understanding of that, and how did you integrate all this knowledge in your life?
Mm-hmm. Well, as we talked about this first hot seat of first goal for me was I want to figure out how to get there. It's also one of those things that seem rare. 1,300 people in a theater, only few every day come out there. So it kind of feels like you really gotta figure out this allowing question answer kind of game.
Exactly.
And then once I got it the first time, I was like, oh, okay, well, that was interesting. So the next day I raised my hand, and I saw some people were kind of like, why would he want to do it? This is already so rare. But I had so many questions coming up. So second hot seat for me was that whole, I just wanted to, because first time it was, just getting a hot seat. Second time, I just wanted to be there and be showered by that energy. So I actually I asked them for Rampage, and there was a Rampage about I mean, all of that is about worthiness anyway, but it was really about how you just get in a state of appreciation or state of meditation, and you just allow it all to come. There is like nothing that you really need to be forcing or to exaggerate too much of that question. And then I remember next time I said, okay, well, if I could have done it a few times in a seminar, as I told you before we started, Alaskan cruise was, I want to be in on every conversation. So I would raise my hand even right after I was in a hot seat. I would continue raising my hand because I had so many questions coming through. And even Armand was like, oh my gosh, really? Like, let other people go there too.
Let others go. Yeah.
And then I remember it was always like, oh, well, if the conversation is beneficial for everyone, it will happen. It's like everyone wants to be in on all the conversations that are happening. We're all co-creating it together, right?
Exactly.
So coming into this number 6 that you said, by this time my hot seat conversations became longer and became more deep, I would say, and profound, because my questions were like that. The time in between, I would take and absorb everything. I would listen back to the recording. I would see how it resonates, because recording that you hear of other people or of yourself is always new to you in a different time that you hear it, because it does not bring you to the same thing over. I mean, you can get the essence. Like I was listening to the clip and I'm like, oh, I just remember Caribbean cruise. I remember beautiful circle rainbow we had out there. Like I remember these details, but I've heard like 10 new things just now as we were hearing it, because I haven't heard it in some time. So I think there is a lot of value in that aspect as well. And that's what I've been doing between the hot seats or between the cruises. Armand and I would try to integrate all of this. By this time, we had so many more friends we could interact with and share this with. And I was also then all curious to, how do I apply this in conversation with people who do not know about Abraham, who do not have this verbiage? Because I've been a teacher in dance for so many, so I'm used to looking for always new ways to explain the movement. So it was the same thing in trying to explain how I feel and how we apply this. Oh my gosh, guys, you're always so positive, you're always feeling so good. Well, we're like, well, okay, not really all the time, but predominantly we are. And now, how do you explain that without overwhelming them with terminology that they don't necessarily understand at the moment? So that was the game between the cruises and between the hot seats. But this wordiness that I've been receiving and talking about to Abraham in this particular hot seat, I said in that segment prior that I found in a world of dance, I found this confidence and worthiness that no matter who walks through the door, whether it's a beginner dancer or a world champion, whether it's a dancer who does not know how to dance on 10 times better than me, I have a value to provide to them. I can give them some kind of feedback that is going to be of value to them. And then I said, I want now to bring this and include this not only in the world of dance, but I want to include it in communication with everything and with everyone about anything. I want to be able to be this steady place for someone, regardless of what the topic is. And that's when they started talking about, reinforcing about, that's why they talk not only about, they mentioned, as you heard, not only wordiness for you to apply it to you, but for you to see the wordiness of others. If you want to uplift others, you have to see them in that light. You cannot see them in a lack and then uplift them. It doesn't work like that. So that was the biggest thing that I've gotten from this, because my intention by this time was to, be able to, to have more people interact with me. And I had no clue what is it going to be. I had no clue what the form is going to be. But that desire of, hey, I understand how this works, and I have a proof of concept in my dancing. Now I want to expand it in everything. Anywhere I go, anything I do, I want to be, I want to be steady and offer people as much upliftment and kind of shine back to them that is their own worthiness.
So what I understand from that is, if in your own vibration, you have the knowing and the confidence that you will bring value, you automatically activate from them, also within them, the knowing that they will be receiving value. Is that what I understand?
Well, yes. Well, this particular conversation was the way I understood it and received it is you get to the place of steady, you sense your worthiness, you open up yourself and include others, even if they don't see themselves as worthy, and they will have no choice but to see themselves as worthy. In other words, like you feel so good, somebody's not in a good mood, but you're predominantly there. Eventually, they give up and they join you to the party, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's
it's kind of
owning the room. That's what they
exactly,
call
yes.
owning the room. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I found also that there is so much value as well sometimes for someone, to be not only uh, that we can be of value to each other, not only when I'm holding steady because you're not steady and worthy at the moment and you see it, but I can also provide you, maybe not with that sense of steadiness, but the way we interact may cause you to ask questions, may cause you to open up a new discovery, because you always sense worthiness within you, and I sense my worthiness within me. So it does not matter. I think all of it is valuable. I think it's valuable when you hold steady, but sometimes we try to hold on to that. Well, I'm feeling the worthiness and I want to uplift people, and now I have to feel worthy 24/7. Well, it doesn't really happen like that all the time. Well, we can cut ourselves some slack too, because predominantly that's what we know. But if in a conversation we have something and you're like, well, I don't know, this Kosta is now bringing some things, it's not making me feel fully uncomfortable, but it's making me question and wonder. Well, that's also part of your creation too.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I can be, or you can be to me, or I can be to you, also someone that reflects back worthiness, but I can also cause you to shift from not feeling worthy to be in the process of discovering you're worthy, even though it does not show in front of my very eyes at that moment. So so that's been like a new thing that I've been and we've been receiving in our own work. I would say over the last 6 months to a year, that it's all valuable.
Yeah.
And that we won't be an answer for people at all times. Sometimes we're a question for them, but it's equally valuable because it creates movement, and eventually we all have that potential to feel that worthiness predominantly.
So once again, we're moving from step 1 to step 3, all the time. So sometimes it's the question, sometimes it's the answer.
Yes.
So I would like also to talk about the feeling of worthiness, because this is what Abraham says, they say, like, usually people will be experimenting something and then feel worthy if the experience is a good experience, and then you'll feel worthy after the experience. But they're saying you should feel the worthiness before and then have all the experiences.
Well, I think it goes both ways. I think that that the evidence of worthiness is, we cannot feel the worthiness after the event, quote unquote, if we did not feel it before. It would not happen. It is just sometimes we don't sense it ahead of time. And I feel that Abraham talks about that. They say, oh, well, don't worry. If you don't catch it within your emotion, which is indication of how close you are to it, it will happen to you, and then you will have a clarity after. And I think that happens not only with negative emotion. I think that happens with positive emotion too. And that's why we sometimes connect it to, oh, I was struggling, and because I struggled, I earned and deserved to have this. And it's not because of that. It's because eventually we give up on struggle, that then we receive what we desired to begin with. So, and to put this in a perspective, because I knew we would talk about worthiness, right as I was walking to prepare, I just had this few days ago, I heard, I saw something, how many ancestors it took their synchronicities to match. So our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, so they went, let's say, like, I don't know the numbers exactly, but 10 generations before. And it's over 4,000 manifested lives that found synchronicities and created this person for us to be nowadays what we are. Meaning so many of those miracles have happened for us as a miracle to happen right now. What is there not to be worthy about? What is there not to be worthy about? I mean, even with our parents, like if we think biologically, we're that one out of billions intentions that found its way into physicality in this particular moment. at the time of our birth. So I think that's sometimes the perspective also to look at it, because we get caught up in our focus, which is all wonderful and lovely and action world, and that's what we want to do. But sometimes to pull back, to zoom out a little bit, to unfocus from the action so much, even if it's a few times a day,
Yeah.
to the place where we can be like, oh, okay, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm safe, I have what to eat, I have where to sleep. For most people in the world, that's true.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's like, look how far the humanity has come. Of course, there's always going to be things to have more, but what is there not to be worthy about? Like, I'm worthy of this air, I'm worthy of this wonderful experience of my mental capacity that can process
Yeah.
wonderful things. So it is the matter, when they say it's a matter of perspective, it is.
Yeah.
I just feel consistency into getting into that perspective is what gets us to then not even think about worthiness, quite honestly, because we know that it's all there for us to experience if we choose to.
I love that. Yeah. So I just love the way you brought that perspective with all the ancestors, because we tend to forget,
Well, we tend to forget we've done the most difficult part. Like
yeah.
like I mean, when you really look at it, sometimes I'm like in awe of just that awareness of
Yeah.
how
Yes.
every life is a miracle. Yeah.
Indeed. So we have a comment here from Karen that says it's not just knowing your worthiness, it's expecting them to know theirs. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's a quote. Yeah, I love it. And that's exactly what we were saying. So,
I like to
Costa,
think
we're
of it,
already, yes.
I like to think of it as I know my worthiness, and then I include others in that, and therefore they then that expectation is easy to be there, because I you just ask them to join.
Yeah, exactly. That's a nice way to end our fun conversations. Thank you so much for your time. I really
Thank you.
enjoyed having that conversation with you. So if ever the audience would like to read about your story that is very interesting, I invite them to go on your blog and have a look at all your 7 hot seats and the story behind. It's so interesting. And I know that you're now channeling also, so
Yes.
they'll be able to have information
Yes, all of
on
it
the
is
blog.
on the same website. Thank you so much for
Thanks
inviting
to
me, and
you.
for having this fun time together to bring me back to so many wonderful memories. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So stay tuned on next Monday, October 25th. I'll be having Bron Johnson for the next fun conversation. So have a nice weekend. Thank
Bye,
you
everyone.
again, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.